Hi children, good evening. Now we are going to continue the diversity in living organisms, chapter 5. Okay, video lesson 6, that is fungi and plantae. So previously we have seen two kingdoms, that is Monera and Protista. We have seen Monera, mostly they are included the prokaryotes, okay, and Protista, unicellular organisms, but they are eukaryotes. We have seen the examples also. About children, try to differentiate those two at first. What are prokaryotes, what are the eukaryotes, and the differences in between them, so that you can understand very easily what type of the kingdoms both are. Now the third kingdom is fungi. Fungi is what saprophytic type of nutrition, and it is a multicellular and even a unicellular organism also present. That is example yeast. Multicellular is rhizopus, that is bread mold, and another multicellular which we are eating, that is what aspergillus, that means mushrooms. Okay, all the mushrooms are not edible, only some mushrooms are edible, which are proteinized food. And you can see here, this is the bread mold, otherwise called as a rhizopus. Previously we have seen it consists of a mycelium and hyphae, isn't it? So the whole this organism, it is called as what? Mycelium. That means it consists of number of hyphae. There are so many hyphae are present. These are the hyphae, the root-like structures, which is called as a rhizoids, and from the rhizoids these tube-like structures will produce. Those are all called as a hyphae. And again these hyphae produce as a vertical tube-like structures. These are called as a sporangiophore. And when the sporangiophore get matured, then the one end of the sporangiophore, there is a swollen part is produced. That is called as a sporangium, where the spores are present in this. So once the spores mature, then what will happen? The sporangium splits and all the spores are distributed. And if they go for falling to other type of the food materials, again they grow as a what? Rhizopus. So that is the what? The rhizopus. So here this is the whole mycelium, and then these are the rhizoids, roots like structures, and these are all called as what? Hyphae. And these are sporangiophore. You can see here, this is sporangium and these are the spores. It is very important diagram, okay, for the exams. The next, another one is the plant kingdom. Plant kingdom consists of all plants, all the type of plants, but the plants started their life from the very primitive type of plants. Those are called as a thallophytes. It's just like a thallus. And the next one is the bryophyta, pteridophyta, then gymnosperms, angiosperms, algae. Algae are thallophyta. We are giving algae here, but algae group is what? Thallophyta. Thallus like structure only present. There is no leaf, no root, no stem. There is no differentiation of plant parts. That's why it is called as thallophytes. Whereas bryophytes means it consists of what? A proper type of the structure, like leaves, some rhizoids like roots are present, and a minor type of the stem. So these are called bryophytes. But here there is no vascular bundles. If you come to the pteridophytes, vascular bundles are present, xylem, phloem, these are all. And then proper differentiation of plant structure. Gymnosperms and angiosperms, they are very well developed plants. Gymnosperms means they are non-flowering plants, whereas angiosperms are flowering plants. That is the difference is there. And some more differences are there, we can go through in this topic. Okay, fungi structure. So already we have seen that this is the fungi structure. What grows underground? These are the underground things are called as a hyphae. I already told you, mycelium means like this, so many are present, then it is called as a hyphae. So here you can see here. And if you extend, there is another fungi, and there is another fungi. So totally it is called as a mycelium. Hyphae, which strands of cells that make up what? Fungus body. So this is just like a stem-like structure. Okay. And hyphae branch into a large mass. That's why I told you. Those are called as a mycelium. And what grows above the ground? So my hyphae, present under that means rhizoids present inside the ground, whereas fruiting body, which is called as a reproductive part. And this reproductive part consists of what? Spores. Okay, spore producing structure, this one. And eukaryotes, the next characteristic, what are the characteristic features of the fungi kingdom? Most fungi are many-celled. That means multicellular organisms. Okay, and these some are only single cell. Example, I told you yeast cells, which are important for fermentation. And cells of the fungi have a membrane around the nucleus, membrane bounded. That means proper forming of the nucleus. That's why they are eukaryotes. And then these fungi get nutrient and energy by absorbing and digesting from the surface they live on. That means they are absorb the food materials from the what? The nearby things. Okay, like these are saprophytes. That's why they are called as a saprophytes. And reproductive parts are spores. There is no sexual part. Here only asexual reproduction, which is by means of sporulation. Sporulation means production of the spores. An example of fungi are, already I told you, yeast cell, mushrooms, bread molds, okay, which is produced on bread, and lichens. Lichens are again one more thing. Lichens are a type of symbiotic nutrition. That means fungi and algae both together live. Then they are called as lichens. Algae give food materials to the fungi. Fungi provide nutrients to algae because fungi can't provide the can go through the photosynthesis. That's why it depends on the algae for food materials. And algae, they can't grow that much big. That's why they will depend the fungi to get the nutrients, sunlight, and all these things. Okay, that is the type of lichens. Lichens are very, very important. They will ask mostly for 2 marks question what are lichens. These are symbiotic type. The fungi and algae together living, then it is called as what? Lichens. Okay. And next one, yeast. In the fungus, I told you, yeast is a single cell organism, single cell type of fungi. And these are unicellular, eukaryotic, obviously, and facultative anaerobes. That means they are anaerobic respiration takes place, not aerobic. Anaerobic means what? They without oxygen, they go through for the respiration, and capable of forming colonies on solid culture media. So here sometimes is cell, it should be divided, and then it forms here in his cell the reproduction is a budding type. Okay, just like a bud will form on the surface of the body, and this bud should be detached, but sometimes it won't detach, it is attached with that only, and then it will grow another bud like that. Then all will seems like a group of a colony like that. After seeing that, we will think of it is a multicellular, but it is not a multicellular. It is a what? A colony. Okay, so that they are called as a colonial type of what? Habitat they are having, and occur worldwide anyway, and it consists of 1,500 species. Okay, all this. So these are what? Yeast cells, which are important for fermentation. Next group is plantae. So plantae is nothing but plants. They are multicellular eukaryotes having cell wall. That is very important. Presence of cell wall. And they are autotrophs. They will provide their own food materials with the help of chlorophyll, sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. The first level of classification of the plantae is differentiated with the distinct parts. So The first one is it won't form a proper distinction of the plants, but next onwards there is a forming of the distinction plant wise. That's why they are differentiated into various groups in the same plantae phylum. Okay. The next level of classification based on whether the differentiation plant body has special tissues like vascular bundles. Just now I have explained that one. For the transport of water and other substance, isn't it? And further classification looks the ability to bear seeds and whether the seeds are enclosed within fruits. So now you see here first this one, classification of kingdom plantae, embryophyta. Bryophytes, they are amphibians of plant kingdom, non-vascular. There are no vascular bundles. First one is algae. Algae which are not differentiated into three main parts. That means leaves, stem, and then roots like that. So they are only thallus, The plate-like structure is present in that. That is what, that's why it is called thallophyta. Example, algae. Okay. And there is some development took place in that. That brings as another group. That is nothing but bryophyta. So bryophyta, it is otherwise called as the amphibian plants. Why it is called as the amphibian plants means they will have just like a frog. It can live both in water and on land, isn't it? That's why it is called as the amphibia, frog. Like the same bryophyta, they can produce their new things, new individuals in the presence of water only. So fertilization takes place in presence of water. And without water also they can live. That's why it shows the two type of the life. So they are called as what? They are known as amphibians of plant kingdom. And here there is no vascular bundles. Bryophytes don't have vascular bundles. And one more thing, here zygote is present. In thallophytes, zygote is present, but there is no embryo. But in bryophyta, there is an embryonic stage is present. What is the difference between zygote and embryo? Zygote is a single cell, whereas embryo is a zygote when differentiate and form as a multicellular part. That is called as an embryo. From the embryo, then the new plants will come, isn't it? So thallophytes, algae consists of only zygote, but bryophyte, which shows the embryonic stage also. That is some modification. And come to the next group, that is pteridophyta. Pteridophyta, we can see root, stem, and leaves. Bryophyta, we can see only root and leaves, no stem at all mostly. But here we can see root and stem and also leaves. And here the important thing is vascular tissue present for conduction of water and food materials. Then that is example is what? Mass. Okay. Spermatophyta. Here what will happen? Seeds will produce. Sperms means seeds will produce. Seed producing, but vascular tissue also present. The same. But only the development is forming of the seeds. Okay. Here pteridophyta spores only produce, but here seeds will produce. That is called as spermatophyta. Again, this spermatophyta divides into two. That is gymnosperms and angiosperms. On the basis of what? Covering of the seed. Both will produce seeds. But the thing is covering and non-covering seeds. Covering seeds are angiosperms. Non-covering seeds are what? Gymnosperms. Means they don't have seed coat. Whereas angiosperms, they are having seed coat. That's why these gymnosperms seeds are called naked seeds. Seed not enclosed in ovary. No ovary. Seeds won't closed by ovary. That means fruits won't be produced. You know, and after the fertilization, then the fruits will produce, isn't it? The fruits consist of seeds. The fruit is nothing but ovary, and the seeds are nothing but what? Ovules, which are present in the ovary. You know the structure of flower, isn't it? So in the ovary, the ovules are present. When they get maturity, then they produce, the ovary become a fruit, the ovules become seeds. But here in the gymnosperms, there is no fruit formation, only seeds are produced. And these seeds are formed as a clusters. For example, pinus tree, cycas, these are all gymnosperms. And even gymnosperms otherwise called as a evergreen plants. You know, Xmas tree also. So these trees, they never dry. They produce new leaves. Always they seems green in color. That's why they are called as a evergreen plants. Where it comes to the angiosperms. And one more thing, gymnosperms are having two type of the male gametes and female gametes. Microsporangium and macrosporangium. These are all you will get in the higher classes. Okay, leave it that one. So gymnosperms are seeded plants, but there is no ovary, only the ovules become seeds. That's why they are called the naked seeds. Come to the angiosperms. Angiosperms means they are having a fully covered seeds, and these seeds are enclosed with ovary wall. That means they produce the fruits, angiosperms. And one more thing, after in the angiosperms itself, because of the seed leaves, number of seed leaves, they divide into two types. One is monocots and second one is dicotyledon. Monocotyledon means only single seed leaf is present, that is called as a monocotyledon. Double, that means di means two seed leaves are present, then it is called as a dicotyledon. So embryo with two cotyledons, single cotyledon in the embryo, that is called as a monocotyledon. I think you know the example. Example of monocotyledon is rice, wheat, maize. We can't break the seed into two halves. But dicots, we can break the seed into two halves. Then those are called as a dicot. For example, you can see the what all the millets, dals, you know, dal. So it can break it. Even peas, beans, all the seeds, we can make it into two halves. So those are called as a dicotyledons. The plant kingdom, if you see here, Bryophyta, non-vascular, vascular bundles are present. Gymnosperms, they are called as a conifers, you know already. Angiosperms, they are having vasculars, having seeds. And these are seedless, and even bryophytes are seedless, but means they are having the spores and haploid gametophyte, only single type, haploid gametophyte here also. And naked seeds, already we have seen there is no seed covering. Here angiosperms flowers are present, that's why these are a non-flowering plants. Here flowers are present and with seeds covering. Pollen seeds present, pollen and seed also present here, but here swimming sperms, and here also swimming sperms. There are no seeds here. Example, mosses are liverworts, and pteridophytes, fern plants. I think you might have seen the fern plants. Mostly we are having in the garden these fern plants. Mosses and liverworts, those are nothing but what green mass, which we can see where the moist places are there on the walls or near the water ponds and all the marshy type of this one. Okay, stickiness of the plants, so you can slippery, that one, that is called as what? Mosses. And pine, redwood, spruce, these are example of gymnosperms. I already told you all the pine trees and the cycas, then Xmas tree, all these are thuja, we can say. These are all the gymnosperms. They don't have any flowers, isn't it? And angiosperms, those are flowering plants. Example, lily, maple, oak, rose, whatever the flowering plants, all are in angiosperms. Okay, and activity is there. That is, you have to observe the mass plant through hand lens. You just collect the greenish velvet growth on bricks during the rainy season, or when you are putting the water for the pots, mud pots, then you can see because of the always water is forming, there is a green cover will produce on the pot. So that is nothing but what mass. So collect just with a scrap with spoon, what knife, and then collect that one, okay, and scrap a bit of that greenish grow over on a slide, put it on a slide, and observe with hand lens. You know, mostly we are having the hand lens, isn't it? And these are not exactly flowers but structures like flowers, and these are not having seeds but they are having spores, and spores contain very little food, whereas seeds store the food, because spores are very small, so they won't get that preserve the food, but seeds they preserve the food in the form of cotyledons, isn't it? And whenever the thing is there, the differences, seeds are produced from ovule of a flower, isn't it? Whereas spores, they won't have a proper flower, this ovule and all, they produce the sporangium, just we have seen in the what bread mold, sporangium, sporangiophore, spores, isn't it? The same thing which we can see here in the this moss, okay. And plant like moss and fern, which do not produce flowers, but they have sporangium, isn't it, as a reproductive structure. And they are all non-flowering plants. Non-flowering plants, otherwise called as a cryptogams. This is very important. What we call non-flowering plants, they are called as a cryptogams. And those produce flowers, they are called as a phanerogams. Cryptogams, phanerogams. So plants are differentiated basically two types only, cryptogams and phanerogams. Again, cryptogams divided into thallophyta, bryophyta, pteridophyta. Okay. And phanerogams divided into gymnosperms and angiosperms. Okay. And so these are all the what the classification of the plants. So go through this one mass, collect the mass, and see, observe through the hand lens. And this is the mass which you can see, and this is a sporangium. I think you might have the this fern plant. If you turn fern plant leaves, you can see there are a type of the dots, brown dots will be there. So these brown dots are nothing but what? Sporangium. Here inside there are spores are present. This is the structure of spore. So each spore is round in shape. When you put in the water for some time, then it produces the pollen tube. Through the pollen tube, pollen grains will enter into the where? Ovary. Okay, so that is the thing. And this is the pine. So nothing but what? Gymnosperm. I think you might have seen the pine fruit, this one. Just each one is a seed. So all the seeds are forming as a cluster. So there is no covering there. But you see here mango seed. This is the mango seed which is covered by means of what? Seed coat and fleshy part. Okay, that is the difference. And project work I have given for doing the work, that is collect the phylum fungi pictures and then prepare on a chart or as a refill book, okay, paste it and then write the points about that also. Like the same phylum fungi and flow chart of phylum plantae, then differences between angiosperms and gymnosperms like a tabular form, like that same differentiation of monocotyledons and dicotyledons already I have given here, and you collect from other reference books also and then write what are the differences between the monocots and dicots. Single cotyledon, two cotyledons, leaves are parallel, long and parallel venation, whereas leaves are flat and having branched venation, that is otherwise called as a reticulate venation. Flowers which are having a multiples of 1, whereas dicots multiple of 2. Stems, they are having a vascular bundles, and then stem is maybe present, or if it is present also very weak like sugarcane. Here vascular bundles are present, they are arranged in a ring, and vascular bundles are they are irregular arrangement, here regular arrangement. And here stem is woody stem is present. Roots are fibrous roots, here taproot system is present. And mostly monocots are herbs and shrubs, whereas dicots are trees. Okay, so here also angiosperms and gymnosperm differences are there. Just go through this one and write down the what this, and then project work also you have to do it and you have to submit. Okay, so try to do finish as early as possible and read properly and complete the topic. Okay, bye. Take